Hey everybody, welcome back to Crafting and Crime Daily. This is the show where I recap live trials so you have something to listen to while you're doing your crafting works in progress, whether it's diamond painting, crochet, watercolor painting, which I will be doing tonight, and Craft With Me Wednesday. That's the live that I do once a week. So I can show you some of the crafts that I'm working on. That'll be at 7 p.m. Central Time tonight. All right, got my coffee. Mm-mm-mm. All right. A lot of stuff that I want to show you crafting wise. We'll save that to the end. Let's talk about what everybody is talking about today. What is all over YouTube? All over YouTube. The Murdaugh murders saga continues. Now, you're like, who? No. Unless you've been living under a rock, you know what I'm talking about. Alex Murdaugh. James Alexander Murdaugh. Is that what his name is? Yeah. Anyway, he was convicted of murdering his 52-year-old wife Maggie and his 22-year-old son Paul on June 7th of 2021. But he's been accused of a whole lot more things. I'm just gonna reminisce for a minute here. I remember back in 2021. I've been doing this show for a very long time. It takes a little while to get traction. Anyway, one of my subscribers who lives in South Carolina, she said, this is a case I think you should cover. And she told me about it. So I started researching it and I'm like, oh my God. This case has opioid use and misuse. It has missing attorney's fees. It has failed suicide attempts. It has murder, boat crash. It's so involved. It would take me a couple of weeks to bring you up to speed, or I could just put the playlist up of when I already did all those coverage of it. So once she suggested it to me, I started researching it, and this was before the trial of the century when everybody jumped on the bandwagon. But Ms. Becky Hill, Rebecca Hill, the clerk of court, is in big trouble. This is what happened yesterday. And I knew this was coming. Last week, Jim Griffith and Dick Harpootlian, or is it Dick? Is that right? Dick Harpootlian and Jim Griffith. Yeah, the attorneys for Alex Murdaugh for the murder trial that happened in January of this year announced that they were going to do a press conference yesterday. Now, I had it in the back of my mind. Don't forget to watch that press conference. So I'm out at the car dealership trying to, sitting there. You know how they make you sit there for God knows what reason, they're running credit checks or whatever. So I'm sitting there and I pull up YouTube and there they are, Dick and Jim. And I'm like, oh, the press conference. So they filed they filed a motion for a new trial with the Second District Court of Appeals, which means they're going to have to put their current motion for a new trial on hold because now they're talking about Ms. Becky Hill, the elected clerk of court, and her conduct with the jurors. They are alleging that she had improper private communications with several of the jurors. The motion has 4 affidavits attached to it from various jurors. Some were jurors that made it all the way through. Some were former jurors that were, because we went through a few jurors here. They had 12 jurors, several alternates, and several jurors were dismissed for one reason or another. So they are saying that Ms. Becky commented on the credibility of the defense that Dick and Jim were putting on behalf of Alec Murdaugh. And she also was commenting on the believability of Alex Murdaugh's testimony. As you recall, Alex Murdaugh took the stand in his own defense and put on quite a show, I might add. Now, here comes Miss Becky. Now, Miss Becky wrote a book, and the book is called, I gotta look it up, Behind the Doors of Justice, the Murdaugh Murders. Now, as soon as I heard this book, I'm like, oh, I gotta look this up. So I downloaded it on Audible. I've been listening to Miss Becky because she's the narrator of her own book. It's like a 4-hour book, but listening to that Southern drawl, kind of, anyway, that's as an aside. She was elected clerk of court in 2020 when the prior clerk of court position, whoever had that position, abandoned the position, and she ran for the position. She got the position. Her background is that teacher, school administrator, court administrator. She has many years experience working as a court reporter for all these lawyers, so she knows all of them. She's very familiar. She was born and raised in Colleton County, which is where all of this takes place in South Carolina. She knows everybody backwards and forwards. She knows Alex Murdaugh. She was a court reporter on the case of Gloria Satterfield, which is the case where Alex Murdaugh's housekeeper passes away. We don't know why. She fell and hit her head somehow. Alex told her sons, after, because she passed away 3 weeks after she fell and hit her head. She went into the hospital, never came out. He tells her boys, the dogs must have swept her feet out from under her, and you need to sue my homeowner's insurance. Here's a lawyer that will represent you. He sends him over to Corey Fleming, his best friend. And they start this lawsuit. The boys, they just keep calling Alex. One of them is autistic and high functioning, but he keeps calling Alex, whom he trusts. And Alex is saying, oh, well, the case is not settled yet, even though Alex had settled the case with the insurance company. It had settled, and Alex had taken the money. So this whole Murdaugh saga involves opioid use and misuse, missing attorneys' fees like Gloria Satterfield, failed suicide attempts, murder of Maggie and Paul on June 7th of 2021. Yeah, there's so much going. A boat crash, which settled. That was supposed to go to trial in August, this past month, but it settled for millions. So Ms. Becky Hill, she writes this book very quickly, I might add. So I start listening to it while I'm finishing up my gnome square, which I'm going to show you. And you can tell the book feels kind of rushed. Like she repeats herself. Things she's already said in a prior chapter, she'll say them again, like you're hearing it for the first time. It's just kind of weird. But she knows all these players, and she considers this courthouse her courthouse. This is my courthouse. And all of these people in it are her employees, the clerks, the bailiffs, they're her employees. And she's going to run it so she takes this office in 2020. Then she has COVID for a period of time. So she's got very little experience as a clerk of court, but she's running it like it's her home. Welcome, come on in, have a seat. What can I get you something? That kind of thing, including the jurors. And listening to this book so far, she thinks very highly of herself. And she talks about her, angst over having to read the verdicts. She comments on Alex's testimony. She knows Alex very well. Like I said, she was the court reporter for the Gloria Satterfield case. She knows him very, very well. She knows the judge very well. The judge was assigned to this case because all of the Colleton County judges had to recuse themselves because they know Alex. He was at the time working for the PMPED law firm, whom they come to find out was stealing from them, and he voluntarily resigned. and was arrested for the murders. And you know, this story goes on and on. And rather than me tell it to you because it would take weeks, I'll show you the playlist where I have all of it outlined. Because after my subscribers suggested it, I just said, "Wow, I gotta go for this because man, there's a lot of meat here." And we haven't heard the last of it. Alex was convicted of these murders and sentenced to 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole. So he is in prison getting love letters from weird women. Like, yeah, that's a whole nother story for another day. In any case, Dick and Jim, his lawyers, they appeared on the courthouse steps for their press conference, and I start listening. And one of the things Miss Becky said to these jurors is, "Don't be fooled by his testimony. You need to watch his body language." And she talks about it in her book how how he did not come off credible at all. She did not believe him. So she apparently told the jurors to watch him closely, look at his actions. When they went to deliberate, she's like, this shouldn't take long. You can't say stuff like that. And there are 4 jurors who gave affidavits, and none of these affidavits contradict each other. And they were interviewed separately. The defense, they got wind because it's a small town. They get wind that they need to find out what happened in that jury room. So they go out and start pounding the pavement, interviewing any juror that would talk to them. And they found 4 who would give them affidavits, and like I said, none of them contradict each other, and they all pretty much say the same thing. One of them says that there were 6 smokers on the jury, and for the jury deliberations, she said, "No, you're not going to be able to smoke until this is over." What? Okay. So if this is true, Alex is asking for a new trial. He might get it. Can you imagine we have to sit through that again? What? Okay. Meanwhile, Fox News has come out with a documentary on the Murdaugh saga called The Fall of the House of Murdaugh. And featured in it is Buster Murdaugh, who speaks out for the first time in support of his father. Yes. Okay. So the one theory is that perhaps these jurors were angered by this woman, Miss Becky, because in the South, it's a sign of respect. Mr. Alex, Miss Becky, Miss Shelley, Miss Libby. I would be Miss Rebecca, or Miss Becky. Miss Becky. Oh God, no, stop. Anyway, it's just a sign of respect. So Miss Becky is in trouble. If I was Miss Becky, I think I would get a lawyer. All these lawyers that she's so familiar with, you better get one, and you better take the 5th. So what Dick and Jim are asking for, in addition to a new trial, is an evidentiary hearing where they can put these jurors in front of the judge, and these jurors can tell the judge, "Here's what happened." Now that I want to be a fly on the wall to see. I really do. We still haven't even gotten to the financial crimes that Judge Clifton Newman has to preside over. That's coming later this year. And that, wow, that's going to be interesting. Yes. And speaking of multiple trials, there is a new trial that starts today. They are picking a jury today. It's the trial of Cara Rintala, who is 56 years old now. She is on trial for a murder that was committed March 29th of 2010. Yes, she is alleged to have murdered her wife, who was named Anna Marie Rintala. She goes out to run errands with their 2-year-old daughter. She comes home around 7 p.m. that night. She goes down to the basement, finds Anna Marie. There's white paint everywhere. Anna Marie's dead. She scoops her up. She's cradling in her arms when the first responders arrive. The medical examiner. Oh, did I mention This has been to trial. This will be the fourth trial. She was tried for this murder in 2013. The prosecution is saying all of the scene was staged. That Kara went out around 3 o'clock that day. She committed the murder, went out with a 2-year-old to create an alibi, run all these errands, keep sending text messages to Anna Marie. The defense is saying, no, no, no. She was out running errands. Somebody else did this. And nobody could put a time of death on this murder based on the weather, the state of rigor mortis, the fact that there was this white ceiling paint all over all the evidence in the basement. So this painter comes on. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, so 2013, the trial happens. The jury cannot reach a verdict, could not reach a unanimous verdict. So the judge declared a mistrial. You've got to try the case again. 2014, prosecution puts on their case. The jury cannot reach a decision. Nope. So the judge declares a mistrial again. Trial number 3, 2016. This time, she's convicted. Now I can talk about the painter. This paint expert gets on the stand, and he's opining that the paint was there for X amount of time based on this, that, and the other. Well, the Supreme Court of the state of Massachusetts, that's where we're at, Massachusetts. The town was Granby, Massachusetts. The Supreme Court for the state of Massachusetts said, no, this guy did not have the expertise to give the opinion that he gave, which clearly the jury probably relied on to reach its decision. So they overturned the conviction. Kara had been sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Their 2-year-old daughter in 2010 is now a teenager living with her grandparents. Now we're going to trial number 4. Sometimes this prosecution doesn't know when to say when. you know, you're and this was argued by the defense. Clearly prosecution doesn't have enough evidence to support a conviction, especially now that the paint thing's out of the picture. But we're going to sit through this trial. Yeah, they are picking a jury today. There's a lot more that goes with this trial, but I'm going to bring you the evidence as it's presented. So hopefully they can get that selection done today, and it'll start tomorrow. I've been told it's not supposed to start till Monday with opening statements, but they are picking a jury today. So let's talk about what I finished last night after this frustrating car shopping event. I didn't get the car after sitting there for whatever. The same company that financed the car that was wrecked at 11% interest said, oh yeah, we'll finance the new car, yeah. Which I'd only be refinancing like $3,000 more than the other car. But they wanted to raise my interest rate from 11% to 21%. I'm like, oh no, no. That's ridiculous. And the guy at the used cars places, he's like, well, interest rates have gone up. I don't care. I'm gonna put aside every month the money I would have paid for the insurance, the car payment, and I'll just buy my own car. Plus, I have a few thousand that I was going to put down on the car. I had gap insurance, so my car was worth way more than what the payoff was. So I'm getting a large check that'll go into savings, and I'll just buy a car. I'll go to the marketplace, and I found one at Facebook Marketplace, a BMW. I'm like, ooh, a BMW! Wow. Then it says no motor. This is my luck, right? All right. I digress. All right, here's the gnome. Woohoo! Is this not the cutest? Oh my god. I'm going to do one more Halloween gnome, a Thanksgiving gnome, and several Christmas gnomes, and a birthday gnome. And then I'll be done. We'll put this blanket together. I know. I could do this in my sleep at this point. Also, yesterday in the mail, I got samples of the release papers with my artwork on them. So, of course, I have to show them to you. Um, Although the lighting's not great for me to show, but I'm going to show them. A release paper, in case you don't know, and you're still listening, thank you. This is what you put on diamond paintings. You put it over the glue to prevent hair and dirt getting on your painting, and you take one off at a time and you work on that section. So here's some that are already on this painting that I'm working on. This one is not my artwork. This is the one we created for the event that I'm doing, a diamond painting event that I'm doing. This is my artwork here. This is called floral, I don't know, there's bluebells. All of this is watercolor. So I'll show you the ones that I think is the most popular. I don't have. My sister said, I told her, you pick out one. And that's of course what is the most popular. She picked it out. But you can check out the Crafting Journey collection by clicking on the link below to go to craftswithcrashley.com. Look at the Crafting Journey collection. You can use the code Journey10 to get a discount on your purchase if you happen to make a purchase. Okay, there's the hummingbirds. Super cool. Here is the bluebells. Oh my God, I'm just so excited that all of this ended up getting licensed. And I'm working on a Halloween collection. This is my favorite. I really, really love this one. I like this one too with the vase that I did, this blue vase. It's a vase full of florals, which I think is really cool. I mean, there's so much detail in this one, really and truly. Then we have this butterfly one. Super cool. I'm very, very excited about that. All right, guys, don't forget to say hi in the comments. Let me know you stopped by. Hopefully, I'll see you tonight in Crafting and what is it? Craft with Me Wednesday, 7 p.m. Watercolors. I had ordered a new set of watercolor paints that I'm going to try out tonight. So tune in, and if not, I'll see you tomorrow on Crafting and Crime Daily. Bye.